Hello, good afternoon. Today I want to take you back to the American history. Um, Very fascinating history, by the way. I want to tell you how the United States got its superpower status. As you all know, the United States is the single most important economic and military power in the history of the world. That did not happen by mistake. It was a carefully orchestrated military strategy that led to the emergence of the United States as the single most dominant power. Usually, when I talk about the history of America, I kind of struggle uh, on where to start. How do you approach the history of America? Because America presents a unique problem for analysts. Historically wise, militarily wise, you cannot easily find a um, a good way to describe these countries' history. But I'll take a shot at it. I will look at America from the first trip that Columbus made in 1492. It discovered the America, not just the United States, but other areas of the America, because it is a continent. But the history that I want to talk to you about today will begin uh, with the arrival of the British. Even though the Spaniards had already populated America between 1492 and 1607, it was a brutal affair between the Spaniards and the native Indians. Okay, in fact, there was an outcry against the Spaniards, especially by the moralists, Catholic moralists, I should say, people like the Las Cacas, Hugo Grotius, who questioned the kind of strategy that the Catholics were using to suppress the Native Americans. But their complaint never persuaded the Catholics and other Spaniards to change their ways. But in 1607, Puritans, or what we'll call today Christians, who were trying to escape the domination of the British monarchy, they needed some freedom and they wanted to acquire some property. They needed liberty and other things that today we take for granted. So they arrived in Jamestown, Virginia in 1607. That was the first English colony in the United States. They arrived not just as missionaries, they arrived there to start new businesses. They arrived there to start new corporations. They arrived there to become farmers. In fact, their first business was to plant tobacco and use cheap labor, and then the products were shipped back to Britain. And all these farmers, they paid some amount uh, to the king, Jamestown, or King James, I should say. But they called it Jamestown. They named the town after King James at the time. So between 1607 and 1775, these people were living their lives. They were enjoying their newly found freedom. In the United Kingdom, they couldn't acquire property, and now here they are in Jamestown, Virginia, they had property, they had enough money, they had enough investments. So they loved it. But by 1775, they needed more than just property and wealth. They wanted independence. Now they petitioned their government to grant them freedom, but the monarchy at the time was not ready. Because you remember that before all these democracy, we used to have theology, we used to have theocracy, we used to have monarchy. So at this time there was a king in the United Kingdom. So the king was not ready to grant them independence, but the United States, not yet the United States, I should say, 13 colonies, 13 colonies, they were ready to come together and form a republic, and the United Kingdom was not ready to entertain that kind of move. So there was a war in 1776, and this war led to the independence of the 13 colonies. It was a brutal war, but not too much of bloodshed compared to the later wars that I will discuss in this video. So by 1776, we now have all these 13 colonies coming together to form what was then known as not yet the United States. So they had, I don't want to call it a constitution, but they had a temporary agreement on how to form a government. There were sharp disagreement as to whether they should have a national government or they should continue operating as an independent state, and they agreed eventually that all these 13 colonies should come together and form a nation. So they formed a nation, and they gave some powers to the national government. They were so skeptical of how a national government will rule over their lives, but they needed that cohesion, so they allowed for a national government. Between 1776 and 1812, which was when the first war occurred between Britain and the United States. Between 1776 and 1812, a lot of things happened. The United States was the most powerful, that would be scratch that. Britain was the most powerful country in the world at the time, including, you can put Spain in that category, you can put France in that category too. In fact, France and the United Kingdom were both custodians of the territories in the United States beyond the 13 colonies, and also around Canada. But Mexico was also a powerful country at this time. Mexico had a lot of power at this time. But I'll tell you how the United States broke the national will of the Republic of Mexico. So, by 1812, the United States confronted Britain in a war that today we call the War of 1812. The War of 1812 ended in a way that kind of relieved the United Kingdom of some of its obligation to America. So United States now gradually was accelerating its ascendance into a powerful country, but it was not yet at this time in 1812 powerful. So this continued, and at this time as well, United States was beginning to think about expansion. The 13 colonies were not sufficient enough to become a great power. So the United States was now trying to form some coalition with other countries as well. And by 1815, Napoleon was defeated in the Battle of Waterloo. And the defeat of Napoleon meant one thing: that there will be no single dominant power in Europe. Okay? Now that European powers had to focus on their own territory, that was an advantage for the United States, because the United States was not seen as a powerful country. So outside powers or external powers, France, Britain, were always playing dominant roles in the internal or domestic politics of the United States. And at this time, with the defeat of Napoleon in Europe, however, that changed the calculation, in the sense that Britain was now the gatekeeper, I should say, of Europe at this time. And on the Pacific, there was a war between Russia, which was also a powerful country as well, and Japan, Imperial Japan. You also recall that Imperial Japan was a powerful country at this time. So the war broke out between Imperial Japan. Napoleon was being defeated in Europe in 1815. So that was a good time for the United States to focus on its own internal cohesion at the expense of Europe and other powerful countries. So by 1815, the United States wanted to expand to the west. And between 1815 and 1840, some event changed the United States. There was this notion of manifest destiny. Manifest destiny was sort of a philosophy that America can expand beyond its 13 colonies. So the bumper sticker then was "Go West, my friend." So it will be akin to someone in your state right now in Nigeria being told to go to Kano to go and seek a greener pasture. So, but this was at the expense of the native Indians. So Americans left the eastern shore, which will today be Pennsylvania, New York, and probably Ohio. They moved all the way to California at this time. And also, we had between 1846 and 1848, there was a war between Mexico and the United States. Right? Between 1846 and 1848, there was a war between Mexico and the United States. Mexico was a very, very big country, but there was no cohesion among Mexicans. There was always a sporadic transfer of power between different politicians of different regions. So there was no cohesion, there was no political cohesion among Mexicans. Unlike in the United States, where politicians had the same vision to dominate uh, their 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 territory. That is the whole of the Western Hemisphere. So United States went to war with Mexico, and it was a brutal war, very very brutal war. And they started the war in 1846. By 1848, Mexico had to make a strategic decision. So in a ceasefire, it agreed, that is Mexico, to let go of some of its territories. So Mexico surrendered a vast parcel of land to